Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a video on my worm farm. So as you can see, right there's one of the worms. And these are red wiggler worms, or red composting worms, or yeah, just a standard red worm. You can get them from UncleJimsWormFarm.com. That's where I got mine. But anyways, today we're just going to be doing a video on these worms and the composting process. So right now we're down here in the basement. This is the worm bin. Basically, there's just some newspaper over in that corner of the worm bin. And then down here, I have just like the general worm farm soil like I showed you guys. And there's like a mix of coconut coir in here. Coconut coir and basically just shredded up coconut shell, and then the worms themselves, and then I have some cabbage leaves that I threw in here that you wouldn't use to cook with. So anyways, that's the worm bin. It's just a standard tote, as you can see there. It's down here in my basement. You want your worm bin to be in a relatively not too warm, not too hot area. Worms like it best between maybe 60 and 75 degrees. It stays about 68 down here. It's on the cement floor in the basement, so it's probably about maybe 65 degrees soil temperature. So anyway, perfect soil temperature for the worms to do their job. And I did buy, I think it was 1,000 red worms. They're about $25. The deal was if you bought 500, it was like $20, and then if you bought 1,000, it was like $25. So it's like, well, I'm gonna spend $5 extra and get that. And I also got the free coconut core with it when I ordered. So it was like, well, I'm gonna get like 500 extra worms for only $5 more. So that's what we got. They've been living in here for over the whole summer now. I've had them since sometime last spring. I think it was in April, I believe. April or March. One of those months. But anyway, I really haven't been feeding them as much in the past few months as I have this spring and then early summer. But that just really depends on what rate you want your worm bin to grow at. So there's one of the little worms. They don't get as big as like a typical earthworm or night crawler. Just a little bitty worm. That's probably the size they came as when I ordered them. And I don't know if any of the original worms would still be here. I really don't know the life cycle on how long they live. I think it's maybe a couple of months or something, but there's definitely still a lot of worms in here. And now I'm going to talk about feeding the worms. So feeding the worms, it's really not ideal to give them large chunks like this here cabbage, because it takes a really long time for them to break it down. And that's because worms, if you haven't noticed, they're really small. So is their mouth. And they're going to have to, it's going to take a lot of time for them to break this down, because they gotta attack the whole surface area. So it really helps if you blend up your food. If you watch any of M.I. Gardner's videos, you might have seen some of his videos on his worm bin. He did some last spring or winter, I think. But anyways, basically what he does, I usually do it too, but I didn't do it with this cabbage this time around, is you blend up your food with some water or maybe some ice to help it blend up better in like a blender, or basically any other biodegradable products that aren't like meat or any like sugary or fatty foods. So basically any vegetables or fruits you eat, if you have scraps like this cabbage here, you can blend it up. I really like to use like the bottom of the lettuce head that you don't eat. I really like to use that too. You blend it up, or banana peels are good too. You blend it up, and then you just pour it in here in the middle, and then you would cover it up so the worms can do their work. Because if you just pour it on the top, it's not going to get eaten as fast, and then you're going to deal with odor. So you want to have it covered up, And if you do that and you have 1,000 worms in your tub, that's going to be gone in under a week. Because I've checked back when a couple of times, maybe a couple of months ago, if I fed them a blended up food, I've gone in there and checked maybe 3 days later, and that is almost gone. Like, you can't see it at all. And in its place was like some nice, dark, rich worm castings, like these, and like down there. It's really good for your soil and for your garden. And like I talked in my last video, I used some worm castings in my raised bed. You can also use it for potting soil. If you don't want to buy potting soil, you can just use this stuff here, and maybe buy some perlite and then just mix a little perlite in with it. But otherwise, that's a very high quality potting soil. I'm trying to get my camera to focus. There you go. But that would make a very high quality potting soil. As you can see, there's still some eggshells in here that have been in here for many months. You can use these for like worm grit. They probably should be broken up more. And if the worms need calcium or anything, just make sure there's a few eggshells or sand in there for worm grit. Some nice sand. There is a little bit of sand in here, I know. But anyway, the way to start your worm bin, the way I started my worm bin, I just bought the worms. I had some partially composted compost. That's the best thing to start them on, and then coconut coir. Now, when I first started this, the plan was to put this lid here on the ground on top, but I didn't end up doing so, because if I did, then it was dark in there, and then the worms started crawling up the sides and trying to get out, and I lost a few worms that way. Maybe 25, 50 worms to crawling out and getting on the floor. But then, once they had established themselves a nice base soil mixture in here, they decided to stay, and I didn't have any more escaping problems. So I had to leave the light on in here just so they wouldn't crawl up the sides, because they don't like to come out into the light, because they have to have, because that would burn away their protective coating. They'd lose moisture and they would die, so they don't like that. So I had to leave the light on here 24/7 for a while until they got this established. And I haven't had any any worms try to escape this bin since, well, like April or May. But anyways, it's doing very good. I'd recommend everyone get a worm bin. It really helps reduce your food wasting. And then, yeah. So, guys, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like the video. Share the video. Comment down below. Are you guys going to get a worm bin? Or do you have a worm bin already? Have you ever had a worm bin? And also, one more thing. Don't try to put earthworms in your worm bin. Earthworms are more territorial compared to these redworms, which just love to live in clumps, literally sitting on top of each other, where, earthworms will not do that. Earthworms would not do good in a worm bin. You could still put a few in there, but they wouldn't be able to do as good as a job as these redworms, because they do not live in colonies or large masses like these redworms do. Like, when I got them, they were just like stuck in big balls like of worms. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like the video. I'll see you all right back here at Al's Homestead in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.